Hello! On March 20th, 2003, the troops of the US-led coalition invade Iraq. In late 2007, the number of hostilities decreases significantly. US President George W. Bush announces success and orders large numbers of fighters to return home. In Iraq itself, reconstruction operations begin. During one of these missions on a pipeline, several American workers and the soldiers guarding them are killed. Experienced sniper Shane Matthews and his spotter, Alan Isaac, are tasked with finding those responsible and clearing the area of danger. But soon, they themselves will need help, as getting out of this mess alive will prove very difficult.
Should I take Sergeant Matthews' head off?
Hold still, man! Don't fucking move!
2 US Army sergeants in full gear are on duty under the blazing desert sun. A full 20 hours have passed since they arrived on the scene and took cover. And throughout all that time, Matthew and Isaac have detected no movement. Concluding that the killers are long gone, the sniper wants to go out into the open. Isaac, on the other hand, wishes to be more careful. The bodies of the murdered workers and guards lie far away from any hiding places.
It's fucking weird to me.
Don't mean shit, man.
I mean, you took them out pretty fast.
Isaac assumes that the victims did not have time to react because they were shot by a very skilled sniper. Only one soldier managed to reach the wreckage of an old wall. From there, he was able to transmit a message to the command post via radio. Matthews doesn't believe that some local guerrilla is capable of doing something like this. It's more likely the work of a group of raiders. Isaac recalls rumors of an enemy sniper nicknamed Juba, but his partner dismisses them as silly legends. As more time passes, Matthews refuses to waste any more time drenched in sweat. He climbs out of the bushes and takes off his camouflage, despite Isaac's protests. No sniper would wait 24 hours in this heat. Alone, Shane heads to the wall to retrieve the dead soldier's radio and get out of this godforsaken place. The sniper with a rifle in his hand is walking through the desert while Isaac watches him from his telescope. To relieve the tension, they make jokes and poke fun at each other. As he passes the bodies, Matthews asks his friend to cover him and watch the wall. But the lens on Isaac's telescope clouds up at the most unfortunate moment. He inherited it from his deceased comrade Dean, who Shane speaks highly unfavorably of. Alan doesn't share his opinion. He seems to have taken the guy's equipment for a reason. Matthews moves from one body to another in search of evidence and discovers that all of them were indeed killed by a precise hit to the head. With alarm in his voice, he informs his partner that it seems like his theory is correct. The guy wants to find out where the fire was coming from, but Isaac still can't adjust the lens and asks him to leave. Suddenly, he hears a distant sound of gunfire, and Matthews falls to the ground, writhing in pain. The enemy sniper has hit him right in the stomach, and Alan rushes across the desert to help his friend. The sniper tries to shoot the man, but Isaac runs in a zigzag, deftly dodging the bullets.
Go! Get away from me, man! Go! Go!
He manages to get to Shane alive, but once there, he does get shot in the leg. Matthews yells for Alan to leave him and hide, or they both die. The spotter has no choice but to leave his partner and run to the destroyed wall. Gathering his last ounce of strength, he jumps right over it, and old bricks start falling on his head. A bullet is stuck in his leg, leaving a serious wound. Matthews is a few dozen yards away, so the men continue to communicate using walkie-talkies. Shane is in agony. He's sure he's dying and asks to give his earnings to his younger brother. He realizes that their last chance is to contact the base and ask for backup. Isaac tries to crawl to his backpack, but his wound no longer allows him to move. The soldier puts on a tourniquet to stop the bleeding and then writes the time on it so he can remove it before the tissues start to die off. This way, he gets to the radio and tries to contact the base, but finds out that the signal does not get through. While Isaac was running, the sniper's bullet damaged the antenna. Then Matthews starts planning a dash to the wall and asks Alan to cover him. He immediately dismisses the idea as hopeless. They still don't know how far away the sniper is, but Shane wants to try and pick up a rifle and shoot back anyway. Isaac replies that the sniper will spot any movement and shoot without delay. He asks his partner not to move, and then pull the telescope towards himself, intending to take a couple of bricks out of the wall to keep watch. He moves the stone with his knife, but suddenly the shabby structure collapses on his hand like a house of cards. Now his index finger also doesn't work. Isaac manages to slip his telescope through the hole and determine where the sniper might be hiding. He calls Matthews, but he has already lost consciousness from blood loss.
Oh, man. You didn't bleed out. Come on, man, get up.
Shane never had time to bandage his wound, and for him it is practically a death sentence. Not willing to share his fate, Isaac takes a knife and clutches a piece of cloth in his teeth. He performs surgery to remove the bullet from his leg and applies a sterile dressing to the wound. Isaac passes out from the shock and pain he has gone through. He wakes up to someone trying to communicate with him on a short-range radio. Isaac comes to his senses, puts on the earpiece and asks for an urgent evacuation. The officer on the other end promises to help, but in the process, Alan begins to suspect that something is not right, as the man is asking him weird questions. He also examines the bullet and discovers that it is an Allied ammunition, not Iraqi. The dispatcher reaches out again and asks if he has a weapon on him.
I need you to stand and fire into the air. I need to get a look on your position.
What the f?
Although this would give his position away to the sniper, Alan agrees, but stops himself at the very last moment. He realizes that this goes completely against protocol and proceeds to question the man on the other end. Isaac notes a strange accent, and the Iraqi sniper admits to being exposed. He picked up the frequency to lure his opponent out of hiding, while Alan tries to use the broken radio again to call the base. The sniper threatens to blow Matthew's face off so that he will be buried in a closed coffin. Isaac asks what the man wants, and the latter replies that he just wants to chat and get to know the soldier better. Alan agrees to talk more about himself, but only after hearing the sniper's story first. The man describes himself as an ordinary Iraqi citizen defending his country from invaders. Isaac uses the time to observe his surroundings and calculate the distance to where the fire was coming from. To do this, he draws a map in the sand and recalls the angle at which the bullet entered his leg. The sniper keeps asking questions, and Isaac realizes that the Iraqi knows too much about American ranks. Perhaps he was trained by the Allies and then betrayed them. The American says that the sniper has killed ordinary workers who were rebuilding Iraq's economy, but the man only laughs in response. That pipe would not bring money to his homeland, but only siphon off resources for the US to make money from. Isaac doesn't want to tell him about his family and keeps stalling for time to get to the dead soldier's radio, which lies next to another section of the wall nearby. The Iraqi speaks excellent English and then shocks Isaac by revealing that he knows about his deceased friend Dean. It turns out he's been listening to their conversations with Shane the whole time. The sniper wants to know more about Dean, and when Isaac refuses, threatens to shoot Matthews again. Alan tries to reach for the radio with the stick, but the distance is too great to do so unnoticed. He then tries to quench his thirst, but his bottle has also been shot by the sniper, and there is too little water. The Iraqi does not give up, and now asks questions about Dean's telescope. Isaac doesn't want to answer, and instead asks how this cruel game will end. The sniper says he is simply enjoying the conversation. The American will bleed out eventually anyway. He put a bullet under his knee on purpose. Such wounds are almost impossible to dress. The flask and antenna were not damaged by accident either. Isaac becomes nervous, realizing that even he underestimated his opponent. He feels like an animal caught in a trap, with the hunter mocking him on top of it. Now it's Isaac who thinks that the sniper is blabbering to flank his wall.
You say my wall. The very wall your country came here to knock down.
The guerrilla says that the wall that is now saving the American's life was once part of an Iraqi school. Isaac is not moved by this at all. He continues to work out the model of the sniper's weapon, counting the number of shots and asking him several tricky questions. Alan calls him a terrorist, which again makes the Iraqi laugh, since it is the American who is now on foreign soil with a machine gun in his hands. Isaac hears metal clanking over the radio, and soon realizes that the enemy is hiding in the junkyard, which is even farther away than he thought. Isaac guesses that only the legendary Juba could possess this kind of skill. He has already killed 35 American soldiers, for which he has earned the nicknames Ghost and Angel of Death. Juba does not accept the compliments and prefers to be seen simply as a citizen of his country. He has spent several days hiding in harsh conditions and unbearable heat, and has clearly been trained by the Allied forces. Isaac calls him a traitor and a rat, but Juba replies that he was not the first one to open fire. He asks the American arguably the most important question of all. Why is he here? Why go back to Iraq when most of the soldiers have already gone home? Juba again suggests that it has something to do with his dead friend Dean. From exhaustion, Isaac lays down on the ground and begins to tell him the story. They come from the same neighborhood. He knows Dean's wife, who works in a supermarket, and has held the guy's son in his arms. But he's not going to tell him anything else. He uses his last bit of strength to cover himself from the scorching sun and take a little break. Juba threatens to kill him and put the man's deceitful tongue around his neck as a talisman. Isaac soon comes up with a new plan to make the enemy show up from his cover. He puts a helmet and a jacket on his rifle and displays this makeshift scarecrow over the wall. but Juba doesn't fall for the trick. Instead, the helmet slips off and falls on the other side of the wall. Now Isaac cannot protect his head if he attempts to get out. Out of helplessness and desperation, the soldier begins to cry. Some more time passes, and an exhausted Isaac realizes that he has very little time left. Under the cover of another sandstorm, he musters all the strength he's got left and drags his wounded leg behind him, leaning on his rifle. He must take a risk and call for backup using the dead soldier's radio. Isaac crosses several yards while in the crosshairs of Juba's rifle. He takes what he can carry, but on the way back, the sniper opens fire. A section of the wall falls, but he makes it safely back to cover. He finds water and candy in the dead American's backpack, which he immediately devours. Juba reaches out again, claiming that he could have easily shot Isaac. In the meantime, the latter tries to turn on the radio, but it turns out to be malfunctioning. In addition, the fallen section of the wall has badly damaged his telescope. The man loses all hope. The only thing left to do is to keep talking to the Angel of Death, which Alan does. Juba is glad to hear from him. The sniper has clearly been stuck alone in the middle of the garbage heap for too long. The Iraqi begins to recall poems written by Edgar Allan Poe, of whom Isaac seems to know much less. Poe wanted to be a soldier, but he made a much better poet. Instead of listening to the lecture, Isaac notices strange interference in his earpiece and realizes that it's Matthews who is awake and sending him a signal. Amazingly, the sergeant is still alive, and Isaac informs him of the enemy's hiding place. Shane does his best not to draw attention to himself and examines the area behind him through a small mirror. Alan guides his partner to the target and proceeds to distract the sniper with small talk. As Matthews slowly makes his way to the rifle, Isaac tries to find out if Juba has studied abroad. The sniper replies that he used to work as a teacher in Baghdad. An American bomb hit the school building, killing his students, and Juba has had shrapnel stuck in his elbow ever since. So the workers that he killed are just an eye for an eye. Isaac again remains unimpressed.
You're no more religious than I am, man. It's just no excuse to shoot up some Americans.
He still doesn't understand how a college-educated schoolteacher turned into a cold-blooded killer. Juba hints that the reason for this is on the line with him right now. Remembering another teacher who taught him and Dean the craft of war, Isaac anticipates the revenge his partner will soon exact. He tries to instill fear in Juba that he too will be at gunpoint soon, but it doesn't have much effect. The sandstorm subsides, leaving an opportunity for Matthews to shoot, but the enemy now also sees the American lying on the ground and threatens to shoot him again. Isaac orders his friend not to move, and knowing that the subject is interesting to the sniper, begins to tell him more about Dean. He took his telescope because it reminds him of the things that are worth fighting for. His friend was shot by an enemy sniper when Isaac was supposed to be covering him.
I didn't see him, that's how I got hit. It was my fault. God damn it, you f***ing listening?
Alan tries with all his might to get Juba to talk so he doesn't lose another partner, but the sniper doesn't respond. Under a cover of a passing cloud of dust, Matthews sets out his rifle and aims it at the garbage pile. Because of Isaac's mistake, Juba hears some of the Americans' dialogue on the radio and begins to suspect something. To distract him, Alan shoots into the air, and Matthews fires blindly into the junkyard. After firing his entire clip, Shane starts to reload, at which point he receives a return shot to the shoulder. Isaac screams in panic for his friend to crawl for cover while he can. Juba lets Matthews get a few yards away, giving Alan false hope. A few seconds later, he witnesses a bullet pierce the back of Matthews' head. His friend dies instantly, but Isaac can't believe it for a while. Then he finally loses it and says he just wants to go home. Upon hearing this, Juba offers to let him go, promising not to shoot. But he has to make sure that the American does not come back for revenge or to dictate his own rules here. After all, Isaac had the option of going home with the rest of the soldiers, but decided to stay. With tears in his eyes, Isaac says that he is not just responsible for Dean's death, he killed the guy himself. At that moment, his friend was examining the body of an enemy sniper.
The guy was playing possum. Started shooting at Dean. I tried shooting back, but bullet went right through Dean.
To keep his testimony straight, he lied to anyone and everyone and got sick and tired of it. Juba is the first person in the whole world to whom Isaac has told the truth. In response, the sniper remains silent, and the soldier hears noise coming from the radio station. Having swapped the antenna from the dead radio to his own, he hears the headquarters calling him. Overjoyed, the soldier tries to answer, but instead of Isaac, Juba responds to them. The sniper has learned enough information to copy the American's identity and asks to be picked up. Isaac tries to interrupt their dialogue, but is unable to send out a signal due to equipment failure. He realizes that this is not the first time Juba has done this, and that he has lured him and Matthews into the desert the same way. All previous requests for help have been set up. The trap has slammed shut, and there is no way Isaac can prevent another meat grinder that the cunning sniper is going to arrange. The radio transmission is interrupted, and he feels like a complete idiot and soon falls back into sleep. This time he is awakened by a crow trying to peck the wound on his leg. It's almost nighttime, and Isaac doesn't want to give up without a fight. He makes contact with Juba, realizing that the sniper will expose his hideout to the backup if he starts shooting at the soldier. The Iraqi doesn't answer, so Isaac decides to reach for Matthew's rifle, which lies just a few yards away. He pulls it toward him with a rope and a stick, and sets the weapon behind the wall to start shooting at the pile of debris. Alan then walks over to the wall and rests his hands on it.
I ain't afraid to die.
As the structure tilts forward, helicopters are already appearing on the horizon. A cloud of sand hides Isaac from the eyes of Juba, who opens fire first, and the American notices a bright flash for the first time. He takes aim and pulls the trigger, sending a bullet straight at the enemy. The gunfire fades, and Isaac rises to his feet to either confirm the sniper's death or to sacrifice himself and reveal the enemy's position to his allies. He closes his eyes and prepares to accept death. Seconds turn into eternity, and the man does not understand whether he is alive or was instantly killed by an enemy bullet. The helicopters land behind him, and Isaac falls to the ground. Juba hasn't fired a shot, which means he's dead. The soldier is put on a stretcher, and through fatigue, he asks to check the junkyard to make sure the threat is gone. But his words are drowned out by the noise of the helicopters taking off. The guy is dragged into the aircraft, and two paramedics start giving Isaac emergency treatment right in the air. But suddenly, one of them gets a direct shot to the head. As Alan tries to warn his allies, they die from bullets one by one. Juba kills the pilot and damages the helicopter, causing it to crash to the ground. Although the sniper didn't shoot Isaac himself, he still has kept him from going home. Observing the chopper wreckage through the scope of his rifle, Juba responds to a request from the base and introduces himself as yet another American soldier. His trap will surely work many times again. The movie was originally supposed to have a completely different ending, in which Isaac defeats Juba in a sniper duel and gets saved. The film's consultant was Nicholas Irving, a former U.S. Ranger sniper and author of a book called The Reaper. This is the nickname Irving earned while serving in Afghanistan. The role of Sergeant Matthews in this movie was played by John Cena, the star of numerous memes and a legendary wrestler with the record number of champion titles to his name. In addition to his career as a showman and actor, Cena is also known for his charity work. In particular, he met and granted the wishes of almost 700 critically ill children. As always, look for the name of the film in the description of the video. In the meantime, let us know your opinion in the comments. Do you think a large state can exist without waging wars and interfering in the affairs of other countries? Or is it merely a utopia? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like so that more awesome stories come out as often as possible.